you're tuning into something different, something deeper. Welcome to a space where the unseen becomes seen, where the patterns beneath reality are decoded. This isn't just a podcast, it's a journey into the mechanics of belief, perception, and the multidimensional truths shaping our world. If you've ever felt like an outsider looking in, questioning the systems you're told to follow, you're in the right place. This is The Outcast, the Pattern Podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get a handle on complex topics quickly.
And today, we're doing something a bit different. We're zoning in, really focusing.
That's right. Our entire deep dive today is centered squarely on just one article, Patterns of Esoterica.
Yeah.
A metaphysical exploration.
Exactly. It's a really rich piece, quite dense, and honestly, potentially quite transformative if you engage with it.
So our mission today isn't just to skim the surface.
No, not at all. We want to really unpack the core arguments within Patterns of Esoterica. The hope is that, as we explore these ideas together, you might have some of those aha moments yourself.
Okay, let's jump in. The article kicks off by talking about esoteric knowledge. It calls it a timeless stream of wisdom. Sounds ancient. What's the essence it's trying to capture there?
Well, what's really central is the metaphysical viewpoint it takes. It's arguing for this deep underlying interconnectedness of, everything.
Everything.
Like galaxies, planets, all living beings, even consciousness itself. It's not just a fuzzy feeling, though. The article points to core tenets that supposedly arise from this unity.
Such as?
Things like harmony, freedom, acceptance, forgiveness. And this idea of pursuing truth within your own consciousness, it's presented as something inherent, but you have to sort of tune into it.
That's quite a big picture. Then, almost immediately, the article brings in occult knowledge. It calls it a darker polarity. How does it draw the line between the two?
Yeah, it sets up a clear contrast. Occult knowledge, as described here, leans towards elitism, creating divisions, even manipulation.
Okay.
But, and this is crucial, the article states they share roots. The same symbols, the same energetic principles can be involved.
So it's not the tools themselves.
Exactly. The divergence is all about the intention, the consciousness using those tools. The article makes this point really strongly. The same knowledge can be used for liberation or, for control. It depends entirely on the user.
Right. So intention sounds like it's absolutely fundamental in the metaphysical world described in this article.
It's positioned as paramount, yes. The article argues pretty forcefully that intentionality is what really shapes metaphysical outcomes.
It uses an analogy, doesn't it? Something about a hammer.
It does, yeah. A hammer.
Okay.
Simple, right. A builder uses it to create. Someone else could use it to destroy the hammer itself. Neutral.
Okay.
And the article suggests esoteric knowledge, this metaphysical toolkit, is similar. Our conscious choices, driven by whatever intention, good or bad, they're what dictate the result. Shaping our own lives, yes, but also the collective reality we're all part of.
The article also tackles why this kind of wisdom might have been historically veiled or kept hidden. It wasn't just about gatekeeping, was it?
The reasoning given in the article is quite interesting, actually. It suggests the veiling acted almost like a filter.
A filter.
Yeah, to ensure that people seeking this knowledge were genuinely committed, that they'd put in real effort. The metaphysical angle here is that earning the knowledge, really striving for it, embeds it more deeply, makes it more transformative.
So the effort itself is part of the process.
That's the idea.
Oh.
And it also quotes Manly P. Hall on how a lack of virtue can corrupt this wisdom, turning divine magic into sorcery, as he put it, degradation through misuse.
But now, according to the article, we're at a kind of turning point, a metaphysical crossroads.
Yes, it argues that we're at this critical juncture where wider access is actually becoming important. The argument is that for humanity to make informed choices, collectively and individually for spiritual growth, a broader grasp of these esoteric ideas is now needed.
So less veiling, more sharing.
Kind of. The modern esoteric view, as presented, apparently calls for moving beyond our usual, maybe limited thought patterns towards something more expansive like cosmic contemplation. It's framed as a way to reconnect with our spiritual roots.
Okay. Then the focus shifts a bit towards the nature of reality itself.
Yeah.
It mentions Mark Booth and this idea that the universe is fundamentally mental. What does the article mean by that?
Right. It touches on Booth's perspective, which is a form of metaphysical idealism. The core idea there is that consciousness isn't just in the universe. It's sort of the fundamental stuff of the universe. Reality as a construct of consciousness.
Wow. Okay, and it builds on that.
Yes, it introduces this concept of a hierarchy of consciousness. Mineral, plant, animal, human, cosmic.
Yeah.
But the article is careful to say it's not a rigid ladder.
Not like levels in a game.
Less like levels, more like a spiral journey. Continuous evolution, different expressions of consciousness, maybe. Not fixed ranks.
The article also brings up reincarnation. That's the specific angle it takes on that. It mentions lineage, but not just physical.
Exactly. It highlights the metaphysical view of reincarnation, focusing more on spiritual lineage or connection, rather than just your family tree, your genetics.
So soul connections across lifetimes.
That's the gist. It's about rediscovering these deeper spiritual connections, the divine potential within us. The idea is that souls learn and transform through many lifetimes on this ongoing journey.
Then there's this metaphor of the four elements. Not literally earth, air, fire, water in the scientific sense, right?
No, not scientifically. It's presented as a symbolic framework, a metaphor for awakening dormant spiritual powers within us.
How does that work, according to the article?
It describes it as a kind of inner alchemy, taking negative states, limiting beliefs, what it metaphorically calls demons, and transforming them through introspection and emotional honesty, turning them into understanding and self-mastery. Cultivating wonder is part of it, too.
Okay, that leads into a really evocative section of the article that asks about feeling a heavy silence or like your efforts aren't getting you anywhere. The cracking mirror.
Yes, that's a powerful image. The article uses those questions to challenge a potential feeling of disillusionment. It suggests maybe this feeling isn't personal failure, but maybe the start of a real awakening, the mirror cracking. The idea put forward is that perhaps we've been living as reflections, just mirroring others' demands, burying our own essence.
And that connects to collective trauma.
It does. The article links collective trauma to this process of illusions shattering, revealing maybe hidden systems of manipulation that were operating beneath the surface.
And following that cracking, it talks about geometries of control. What on earth are those?
Yeah, it's quite a phrase. The article describes them as these underlying metaphysical patterns. Patterns of thought, image, frequency, belief.
Patterns that control us.
They enslave when we're unaware of them, is the argument. They shape our reality without us realizing it. And this is the key point, if you illuminate them, if you see them, they lose their hold. They can even become tools for liberation.
So awareness is the antidote.
Essentially. And it reframes feelings like burnout or overwhelm, not just as personal limits, but maybe as signs of suppressed power wanting to break free.
Which leads to the idea of reclaiming sovereignty. What does that actually look like in practice, based on the article?
Stepping into sovereignty, as the article presents it, means consciously recognizing those controlling patterns we just talked about, and then making a deliberate choice to stop just reflecting the outside world, the patterns, and instead become the source of light in your own experience, reclaiming your inherent power. An awakened consciousness, the article implies, isn't so easily caught in those unseen nets.
So it's not just about getting by. The article frames this awakening as something much bigger. An internal revolution.
That's exactly the term it uses. It really stresses that this isn't just about survival or coping with a world that feels like it's falling apart.
It's about transformation.
Yes. Radiating transformative light, remembering our innate capacity to actually shape and co-create reality through our awareness, through our consciousness.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into patterns of Esoterica, a metaphysical exploration, what's the core message you think the article wants us to take away?
I think fundamentally it's an invitation to recognize that divine spark within ourselves, to really feel our interconnectedness with everything, and to acknowledge the huge spiritual potential just waiting inside us.
It sounds quite empowering.
It really is. It puts the focus squarely on our consciousness, our intentions, our choices, as the primary forces shaping the reality we experience, both for ourselves and, for everyone.
So as you reflect on our discussion about patterns of Esoterica, a metaphysical exploration, perhaps take a moment to consider those geometries of thought in your own life. Are there recurring patterns, maybe beliefs or reactions that you operate within? Perhaps unconsciously, what might happen if you brought them into the light?
And also mull over this idea of your sovereign being. What might it mean for you practically to step more fully into that role, drawing on some of the concepts we've explored today from the article? Just something to think about.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.